Hello, in this video I am going to talk you through how to add and subtract algebraic fractions, which is exactly the same process that you would use if you only had numbers, but the algebra is just going to mean we have to do a little bit of expanding and simplifying as we go. So the first one we're going to look at is a over 3 plus a quarter. So just like when you add fractions that only have numbers in, the first job is going to be getting the denominator the same. So I'm looking for a number that's in both the 3 and the 4 times table. And if you want to make your life as easy as possible, with as little simplifying at the end to do as possible, you want to look for the lowest common multiple. So the smallest number that's in the 3 and the 4 times table, which is 12. So I'm going to go for 12 on the bottom as my denominator. Now, looking at the first fraction, to get that 3 to a 12, I've had to times it by 4. So I'm going to have to do the same thing to the numerator because I'm using equivalent fractions here. So a times 4, I can write as 4a. So my first fraction goes from a over 3 to 4a over 12. My second fraction started as a quarter. I'm timesing the bottom by 3 in order to get it to 12. So the top times is by 3 as well. So it's 4a over 12 plus 3 over 12. Now what I do, exactly the same as if I'm just adding numbers, is I add the top together. I'm not going to get 7a. I've got 4a plus 3, not 4a plus 3a. So I'm just going to write, in this case, 4a plus 3. If you can simplify it, then you would, but I can't because I've not got a letter at the end of each bit. Okay, so 4a plus 3 over 12. Next question, this time we've got a subtraction, but they're very, very similar. Okay, so we've got b over 2 minus 3c over 7. My lowest common multiple is 14, so I'm going to put the 14 on the bottom, times both top and bottom of this one by 7 to make that happen, so that becomes a 7b, times top and bottom of this one by 2 to make that happen, so it becomes a 6c. So I end up with 7b minus 6c all over 14. I can't do anything with those because the letters are different, so I can't put them together at all. Okay. Now moving on to ones that are a little bit more difficult. This time on my numerator, I've got something a little bit more complicated. I've got some adding going on as well. Okay, so I'm going to have to make sure that I multiply the entire numerator when I do my equivalent fractions. So looking at these, I'm going to need to go for a 15. Okay, that's my lowest common multiple. Timesing this by 5, so I'm timesing the entire top by 5. Now, some of you might be confident with these easy ones doing it in your head, but I'm going to actually write it out long so we can see the process. So I'm saying 5 lots of that whole thing, writing a bracket in there as well. Okay, for this one, I'm timesing both by 3, so that's going to become a 6. So I then have, all over 15 still, 5 lots of d plus 4 plus 6. And I'm then just going to expand and simplify that numerator to make it as easy to understand as I can. So I've got 5d plus 20, making sure I'm expanding that bracket out correctly, plus 6 all over 15. And that's going to go to, sorry, I can't fit it. I'm going to put it over here. I'd normally write it underneath. I'm going to write that as 5d plus 26 all over 15. Can't simplify that anymore because there's nothing I can divide all of the top and the bottom by. Okay, next one, orange one, e over 6 minus e minus 1 over 4. First job is thinking about a common denominator. I'm going to go for 12. That's the smallest number that I can put into both. So I'm making it over 12. This one times this by 2. This one times this by 3. So 3 lots of e minus 1. Writing it as a bracket, and I will expand it in a minute. These ones will show you why it's so important to write the brackets because you'll make sure you don't go wrong then. I'm minusing all of that. So I'm going to now write this as 2 minus 3 bracket e minus 1 all over 12. That minus is with that 3 now. Okay, so I'm going to think of it as minus 3 times each of these bits when I expand it out. So I'm just going to move it up slightly so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to write it as 2 minus 3 times e is minus 3e. Minus 3 times minus 1 is plus 3 all over 12. So now when I simplify that, 2 plus 3 is 5, and I've still got my minus 3e over 12. Nothing I can simplify every single bit by, so I leave it as it is. Okay. I'm now going to do one that's even more tricky because there's going to be even more brackets involved. Okay, so we'll just see what we can do with this one. Turn my board around. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to do x plus 5 over x plus 2x over x minus 1. So first of all, because I've got algebra on my denominators, it's not going to be very easy for me to come up with a lowest common multiple. Okay, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to times the two denominators together. So on the bottom of my fraction, I'm going to have x times x minus 1. I'm going to write that using brackets. Okay, and I now still have to be very careful when I think about the top, what's timesing by. So for this one, I've multiplied by x minus 1. So I need to times all of this by x minus 1, and that's going to look like a double bracket. So I've got my x plus 5 and my x minus 1. Then for this one, I've times my denominator by x, so I have to times this by x. I'm going to write it as 2x bracket x, but some of you might be able to see what that times is 2 in your head, which is fine as well. So I'm now going to have this plus this all over this fraction here, x minus 1 over x plus 5, x minus 1 plus, right, 2x times x, 2 times x is 2x squared. Okay, I'm now going to expand out my double bracket and then simplify the result. Okay, so first of all, my denominator doesn't change. X times x is x squared. X times minus 1 is minus x. 5 times x is positive 5x. 5 times minus 1 is minus 5, plus that 2x squared still on the end. And now I can simplify it. Okay, if expanding that double bracket out there was something you didn't completely follow, then you need to look over expanding double brackets. Okay, because that's a skill that's going to come into loads of other things as well. So looking at what I now have on my numerator, I've got an x squared and a 2x squared. That gets me 3x squared. I've got a minus x and a plus 5x, or 5x minus x, which is 4x. So plus 4x, and I've got a minus 5. All over, either write it in bracket form, or if I expand it out, x squared minus x. Can't do any simplifying there because I'd need every single bit to divide by something and they don't, so I leave it as it is. Okay, thanks very much.